2, 3. I'm trying CBD lemonade with vodka.
Perfect.
If this don't turn this whole situation around, then I don't know what will. Proper stirring.
You guys hear me? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Wow.
Chad, I'll let you know if it's not loud enough.
Welcome, Patreon people.
This is the worst possible drink I could have made.
I logged in. I got back 5 minutes before we were supposed to start back up and saw the call was going. So I said, "Oh shit! I think they started early." I jumped in and it was just Andy muttering to himself while fucking going. He was oblivious I was there. I thought about recording it, and I go,
I saw your name there, and then my system decided to update, so I got some new shit going on, man.
Yeah,
it was like 50%, 56%. It's like I didn't ask the computer, like, hey man, we're getting ready to go back on here, but hey, what's new with Windows 10? Don't leave me hanging. How about
you guys working out those latest bugaboos? Tell me all about it.
Yeah, I'm still writing Windows 9 on all my shit.
I almost spit that out. I fucking love you.
That was good.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for coming over to the Patreon part of the show. So when we were in the interim, I was thinking that when we ended the YouTube show and I was trying to soft sell the Patreon after party, and I described it as a Def Leppard green room. I decided that I probably could have come up with a better band than Def Leppard. I don't know why I thought of Def Leppard, and I'd
go like, hey Joe.
I mean, I am 52. We're all old people, so that part.
Yeah.
But like Van Halen, that probably would have been a better.
Well, we would never have been allowed backstage at Van Halen.
That's true.
Yeah, they would. They I don't think they wanted to hang out with any dudes at all.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah,
maybe Def Leppard was right then. I don't know. I was just thinking I probably could have come up with a better.
Well, it feels like it feels like we're not alcoholic enough for, like, one of them drank himself to death, and then of course the drummer lost a limb, so it'd be like, we could, do we really want to go through that?
That's why I think that's why they would make a good choice, because I feel like they would identify with the whole issues with Andy, Doug Stanhope sort of lifestyle theme, they're broken and in pieces, and some of them are dead from drinking. I mean, I
kind of feel like your declaration about memes makes you the one-armed drummer. You're keeping the rhythm, but something's not right.
He's handicapped. We don't pick on him about it, Andy. It's not right.
Oh fuck! I'm gonna fucking torch you assholes with memes. You're not gonna know what happened to you.
You know who else does that?
Not Shaylee. Shaylee's been nice.
Yeah.
Shaylee's been
Parker.
kind.
That fucking James Parker's.
I just don't follow that shit.
You can't
Shaylee, I can barely hear you. Is that just me? Maybe that's my thing, but
I said that
earlier. Sound very far away.
Yeah,
sorry.
Hold on.
I think my neighbor lady's podcast wrapped up because she's off she had her computer and headphones set up.
She's got her Patreon.
Yeah, I gotta be aware. I don't want to, to step out for some sun and get me too'd. I walked out the screen and then I saw her up there, but she was facing a different way. So I went in and I was like, I'm going to put on shorts. I can't water my tomatoes the way I want to, but I can, I'll mask up. I'll put a mask.
Supposed to do the
player.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm not a pants denier.
Pants work.
Yeah. If me wearing pants makes her feel safe in her space, then I'll do it.
You're like Kirk Cousins. You're not worried about not wearing pants, but you do it out of respect for the other podcasts.
I am like Kirk Cousins. I'm not afraid to die. What I'm afraid of is being vented and it's stuck in my own fluids and being out of my mind with delirium. That's kind of a bummer, That's
don't worry, dude.
That's
knock
not-
you completely out. So
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think he kind of feels like coronavirus is just getting knocked out of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just like getting your bell rung.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
walk it off, bro. Can't walk more than 5 feet. I get out of breath. Whatever,
Oh yeah.
Shot, take a cortisone shot in your knee and get right back out there. Corona victims.
Hey, is my mic fixed?
Yeah, sounds
Better?
great.
Yep,
All right, yeah.
definitely.
Sounds much better.
Yeah, I'm just not letting myself be victimized by coronavirus.
Good for you.
If
It's
it comes,
positive attitude,
hey,
dude.
you don't
That's
bother
what
me.
you need.
I rebuke you in the name of Satan. Or wait, no, I'd say
And then
No.
coronavirus is gonna come at you like a fucking hive of hornets.
yeah, I think you rebuke in the name of Jesus. You rebuke Satan in the name of Jesus. But I'm going to
Yeah.
go the other way and say, I rebuke you in the name of Satan, Christ.
Oh,
Like
well,
that. I'll
great.
say it real condescending, and I think
That should help our luck.
Yeah, the meme will be like Christ on a cross.
Oh, hey, listen, meme hater. Don't tell me how the meme goes, all right? I'll make the meme.
I've been stung by meme beats. Meme beats.
Yeah, those are different. Those are just up the alphabet from.
How about a meme where you have a meme meat bee on a sandwich and then you say something like, that'll fucking ruin your day? I don't know.
Yeah, dude. See, you're getting it.
Andy,
You're already
Andy,
getting
you
it.
are spot on with what memes are, sir.
This is it.
Dead
You're
on.
gonna be great at this, dude.
I think
You're
this
gonna
is like when
take
this
over the
feels
meme
like
world.
this feels like in Costa Rica when Doug was telling me about MySpace, and then I went to some internet chat cafe in Costa Rica, and then I saw I had like 56 people on MySpace already. Like, oh wow, man, this
I'm
is
already famous on here.
yeah, like and then I didn't realize there'd be like different levels, and I'm not very, I was like, I don't know, man. MySpace was non-judgmental. You had like your best friend, but
I would go back to MySpace was judgmental, but I would go back to MySpace over Facebook in a second.
Well,
I never
it's there,
knew
isn't it?
MySpace.
Yeah.
The thing
I
about
never-
MySpace
I
is
never
it
got
really
into
like you definitely ranked your friends. Like you had your top 8 your friends. So like if you looked at someone else's, you would see their top 8 people list with next to them. So like and the way the algorithm worked, I'm going to do a terrible job of explaining it, but it wasn't just everyone was on equal footing like they are on Facebook. You know what I mean? Like you could talk to your friends more than you would talk to other people who you connected with on MySpace, but you didn't have any friends in common with or whatever, or were farther down your list. It just seemed
you could check on people, like see how you rank. Like, Greg's got me at 5, and then you come back, you're not on there. Yeah.
It sounds terrible when you describe it, but it made it a better experience for you and your insular friends because people couldn't jump in as easily to that group.
The highlight for me was like in Black History Month. This was years ago before the cops were shooting people on camera back then. And I had it's like whatever. I had like my top 10 or whatever, and I found. I had at least 10 black friends on MySpace, so it was no problem finding 10. But I, was like had my 10 favorite. It's like I'd move them around. I like to, having completely different lineups. But that was one I remember. It's like couldn't,
Depends on if it's the early show or the late show. You're gonna move the guys around.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I don't know. Yeah, MySpace was simpler times.
I liked MySpace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then I barely remember it. I did. That's when I remember Doug was really into it because being a road comic, I think it was definitely better for road comics. Having MySpace.
Well, it was
I was never on it that much.
It was also not competing with Facebook and Twitter or any of these, anything else at the time. So, that helped it.
And I think what's the Snapchat? I think has been problematic for comedians that victimize people. It's like,
it turned out.
Like I'll bet there's a few comics that wish they hadn't got on Snapchat.
Well,
like don't get on the kids,
or that it was invented.
Don't stalk the kids in their fucking funhouse.
Yeah, they know the rules. They know where all the double mirrors are.
Yeah, exactly. Hansel and Gretel made the mistake of going into the wrong house, but if that witch had come to Hansel and Gretel's place, maybe things would have been different.
You're
Not
totally
German.
right.
Mhm.
You're
I
totally
love
right.
that. The story of Hansel and Gretel luring the witch into their house.
the old
Like
flip
Home
around.
Alone. Yeah,
It's like
you
a
know.
rave, and the witch
Yeah.
is like, "What's going on here?" She's like, "Oh no, I can't
Yeah.
help it."
Well, let's
Hey
face
kids, how's it shaking? Oh,
It's full of
Jesus.
fat
read
kids.
the
You
fucking
can't resist it.
Rainbow.
Home
Pull her
Alone.
hat
They
over
give
her
her,
face.
they give her her first fucking pill of ecstasy, and then she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I don't want to boil any of you children anymore. I
Yeah.
just love you all." She takes her
Yeah.
I wanna
shirt off,
eat you
and
with
she's got
my
green
eyes.
poppy tits.
God,
Like,
yeah. Fucking
Jesus, Hazel.
drop some Molly in the fucking fountain, man, and things change. I don't. Would Molly, if you were an asshole and angry and you were on Molly, would any of that carry over? Or would you just kind of get over it for a minute?
You get over it for a minute.
Yeah.
Do you know where
Fuck you.
MDMA came from originally?
Yeah, it was. Yes, I do. Can I answer, or were you?
Yes, please.
It's I think I do. It was a therapy. It was like a
Therapeutic
depression,
prescription in the 70s.
right?
No,
And it was used a lot in marriage counseling and marriage therapy. Couples therapy, because you just want to hug and feel love and everything.
Yeah.
Like, it heightens your tactile senses, so you feel everything, and you're just like, oh, and
That'd be a real walk
It
of
works.
shame.
It goes away. It goes away.
I just got to get out of
I've-
here for a while. I'm really sorry.
I've never once done it in my whole life.
Well,
Not because I wouldn't do it. It just was never in the circles of people that it wasn't one of the drugs available. I did all the ones available.
Someday in the future, we'll have a 4-way straight old guy ecstasy party where we all just make a big boy pile and we just rub on each other for hours while we're high as
Chad,
fuck.
you'll like it because there's an up to it. There's not a down. Like the feeling is an up feeling.
And
So
you're
I
gonna
know
want
that-
to.
that
You're gonna
you're
want
like
to
me like
bring.
that. You like
They
You're
they
really
call
gonna bring at least 4 or 5 fucking outfits. Hang on.
Yeah.
Jump in
Yeah,
the
you
van.
want to be comfortable. You want
Yeah.
you want fun pajamas. That's
Yeah.
what you really need for ecstasy, is fun, because you want to move around and you feel like you want to dance a little bit and have a good time, but you also want to feel like the softness of cotton pajamas or silk pajamas.
fleece.
Oh wait, no. There's no fleece. There's no room for fleece in.
Hey, hold on.
I
No,
picked.
I'm not.
Fleece is soft, dude.
I'm
You
not
don't
a
even know what
fleece guy.
fleece is?
I do know what fleece is. I'm from the
It's
fucking
most-
Midwest,
most
dude.
onesie outfits are made of fleece. Tell
No,
me a
that's
fucking
too heavy.
ecstasy party that doesn't have at least one onesie in there.
Too heavy. Too heavy. You don't want anything that heavy on you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
man.
fucking make a meme
You don't
of
want anything
fleece
heavy on
the
your
fucking
chest.
on ecstasy.
No, man, I don't think you could. It's
He
too
doesn't have the
inside.
talent to make a fleece. meme.
Hey, why don't you
there
stay
it
in
is.
meme 101 for a while before you hit the fucking big
Just an app, guys.
playoffs?
You guys are gonna think I'm
Don't
a
take off the
fucking
training
genius.
wheels yet, Erickson.
Turns out it's just an app,
Ah,
and it's that
the-
easy. You're gonna be like, man, this guy's churning out memes like a fucking maniac. He's got real talent.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
nobody has ever said that
That's what you're gonna
in
be
their
saying.
lives.
This guy
Nobody
is a
has
real.
Those words have never
thought
been
that.
spoken in that order.
Yeah,
This
no
guy
way.
is like the Frank Sinatra of memes. He's gonna have a whole crew.
You're gonna be a gangster.
Yeah, man.
Oh no.
He was in the
Memes
pen.
alive.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Andy will be the Sammy Davis Jr. Chad will be the Dean Martin, and Shaylee, I think you will be the Joey Bishop.
So kind of,
Aw,
if you think
man.
about it, the Rat
Oh,
Pack
Joey
was
Bishop.
based.
He's
just
the
described-
forgotten fucking rat packer.
You
I
just
guess that's
described
right.
Def Leppard.
Yeah, Stano
The
doesn't remember 90% of the stories he tells that I was in the room. So I am the Joey Bishop. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, I would have been, but I started the whole thing, so I
Yeah.
couldn't be.
Yeah.
So maybe
I've
this
been in
it's Joey Bishop's Rat Pack.
Yeah, who hasn't wanted to fact check Ralphie May back in the day? He's telling a story that involves you, and then he changes all the facts about it and everything. Oh, okay. But it's still
You could be-
entertaining.
You could be the Peter Lawford.
Yeah,
That's kind of like our buddy Jay Whitecotton reading a book that one of his buddies wrote, in which a bunch of the stories that that happened to Jay Whitecotton seemed to happen in the book to the person who wrote it. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Kind of
Hey,
the same
yeah,
deal.
that's right. We're on the Patreon.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
do the
but
math.
I'll still let people figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys, man, we've all been in Vegas for that extended weekend. Yeah, those guys would have been all right to be fucking friends with.
Yeah.
I would have wore a sweater like that guy's. I mean, I have no shame in wearing a sweater like that. I'm that old. I fill my pockets with Werther mints, but I don't talk to kids. Just keep them for myself.
I'm with you, dude. They all look comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
He looks
And-
like he might have vomited into his cups at the
I
bar,
remember-
at the fucking casino bar, you know.
Remember how awkward it was to have a black guy in the thing in that day and age? You remember, I remember a Happy episode where there was a black guy and it was like everybody was like it was a
They
thing.
freaked out.
But
Yeah.
just brought Sammy in, and Sammy just fucking was a cool cat with a dead eye, a glass eye, and he was fucking a cool cat from what I remember. He was basically. I wonder if Scatman Crothers might have worked the road, met Sammy's. I don't know. They're probably the same age, but him and Scatman Crothers, I got confused with those two.
I always thought that
back when I was a kid. It's like
I always thought they should do a Rat Pack redo with rappers, like the fucking 90s West Coast rappers. Like Sinatra is Dr. Dre, right? He's the fucking main guy. And then he's got his sidekicks. Snoop Dogg is like Dean Martin. He's the tall, skinny, fucking super styly, fucking got his own kind of language, you know? And then Eminem.
Sure.
Eminem is Sammy Davis Jr. He's the fucking off-color one who's actually got more talent and kind of a crazy wild card guy, right? Like you could just slot these fucking guys in.
We got a few more.
Good.
Need an offer.
Yeah, the other two guys don't matter. You throw fucking Ice Cube in as one of them and get fucking somebody else. You got the three guys.
Peter Lawford's still alive. You bring him in.
Let him do it.
Yeah,
But there's similarities
First off,
between
guys.
Eminem and Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin and Snoop Dogg. They're the perfect fucking spots.
They could sell it as Black Vegas and have the be like,
hilarious.
yeah.
He's fucking great.
First
You
off, I have
that
to say,
Snoop Dogg, he'll
Andy,
buy that from you. That's fucking solid, man.
That's a good idea, right?
I think it's already a show
yeah.
on one of those fucking like the entertainment, like one of those deep cut entertainment channels.
Well,
Hey, first off, Werther's aren't mints, Andy's. Andy,
Yeah.
they're caramel, like a hard.
Yeah.
I think he meant to say Werther's
Butter.
Originals.
Yeah.
You say-
I just
meant to
remember
say
that
original.
ad.
Werther's
Where Grandpa
mints,
always
yeah.
had those in his pocket for the kids, and I
Yeah.
thought, God damn it, that's just sickening.
But I
Fucking
love
sell
it that, like, you're
sell candy.
Andy's you're the candy man. You're walking around with a sweater with candy in it, and the candy man. That was what's his name's song.
Well, my nickname in high school was Hand Job, and my friend Mitch would
What?
sometimes croon me with James Taylor's Handyman. I told you that. I was handy. Handy
hand job.
And it wasn't like I wasn't known for that.
But you can't just say my nickname was hand job in high school,
That's a lot
and
Yeah, but it was
expect
like
people to be like, "Oh, it's a name." It's
it was
a
actually
handy-
kind of another. It was like when I was on the Man Show, and Fitzsimmons had his caricature. It said Fitz Dog above his desk. So then I wrote on a plate A Train. I was a new guy. The show had been going for a few weeks, and I came in and nobody knew me, and I wrote A Train on a paper plate, and I slammed it down at the first writing thing, and I said, I want to be known as A Train. And that was it. And then they called me A Train, and then it was like, it kind of gave me a different identity to, I was like a fucking.
You can't pick your nickname.
I did.
Can't
It's
if you're
That's
A-Train.
bullshit.
Well,
What kind of fucking loose shit were they running down there at the fucking Man Show?
I don't know.
Everyone, there's a 3x5 card. Pick your nickname, and we'll put it on your locker.
But if it's like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, where they're like, we've already got 3 A trains here at the Man Show.
There
Stephanie Simplest in the
wasn't
red
anybody
tights.
who knew they should challenge it. They didn't know. I was a new guy, and I declared it. and that was it. And then it was like easier to remember me by that
Yeah.
or whatever. And then that guy did a lot of creepy shit. A Train. It's like, dude, calm down. Hell,
Who's that guy?
sometimes
Who,
all
A-Train?
fucking
Yeah, what does he do
Yeah,
here?
man.
No one knows.
Yeah.
Sometimes that
Yeah.
guy's like, dude, you're fucked up. Get control of yourself, A Train. You're not even real, bro. Wake up crying. Come
Yeah,
on, A
I
Train.
get
Pull
it. Look
yourself together, man. That's not even a woman.
It's not even a person.
No, she's a
That's
person.
the Coke machine, dude. Calm down.
Yeah. So I was like I was like Daniel Day-Lewis. I was A Train, and I didn't answer to anything else. And then I got back home, and nobody knew me as A Train, so it's very awkward.
Oh, that is
Like,
weird.
shit, man. No, I'm a Thane, yo. And my kids, it's like, what's for lunch or whatever. It's like
She
A
didn't
Train.
ask.
Yeah, it
ask-
didn't gain. It couldn't get momentum at home. I had a nephew who was called. He like I'm his, or he was my nephew's kid. He wanted to know what to call me, and I said, "Call me the Duke." And he calls me. I don't think he would anymore.
John
but
Wayne?
well, I
You
just said
picked John Wayne's fucking moniker?
I picked a title because I didn't want
Yeah,
to.
that's a good title.
Yeah, it's like the Duke.
Better than me going with Def Leppard under the
Yeah.
gun.
Yeah,
The Duke
yeah.
is pretty good.
Yeah, and he gave a great
Def
commencement
Leppard
speech.
Under the Gun was a pretty good album.
That was their best album. That was before Pete Way left. So
Yeah. Yeah, back in the day, none of those clothes belonged to those guys.
What you mean, the Man Show or Def Leppard? Or
Either
both?
Def Leppard, they don't. Yeah, they don't get to. Well, the one guy gets to pick his own shirts for obvious reasons.
Yeah. No sleeves required.
Yeah. Hey, I ain't doing tank tops no more. Didn't you get the memo? I had a boating accident or
Wait,
something.
everything's
No,
a
it's
tank
car
top
crash.
on that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was fucking. I'm glad he carried on.
So-
That was fucking with the band. Some bands will kick a guy out because he's just on too much heroin. And Def Leppard, he lost a whole limb, and they're like, "Fucking, let's keep him anyway." Like shit, They could have easily, hung him out to dry there.
Yeah.
Nobody
Well-
would have blamed him at all, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, listen, we got to have a band meeting, And then he's in there and he's like, hey, Rick,
Yeah. Do it.
yeah, we love you, man, but
Oh wow, cool. Yeah, that's a fucking.
They
way to
wouldn't have
press the
shown that
stump.
kind of dedication if the lead singer had lost his tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look at
They would've farmed it
Listen.
Motley Crue is missing a lead singer. Just like that guy's missing an arm. That's Vince Neil's voice, and they're still fucking
This
parading
guy-
around like a band.
I don't think this guy's ever had a shirt on.
well, that guy, I don't know
Look
who
at
that
him.
guy.
Would you
well,
wear a shirt if you look like
Well,
that?
yeah,
here's
Jesus.
the thing.
yeah.
Here's the thing,
He
Shaylee.
had a
That's
fluffer on
because
that fucking
Yeah.
photo shoot.
that's because whoever that is, that's probably like Adrian Vandenberg or somebody like, or Vivian Campbell. It's probably Vivian Campbell.
New guy.
But that's the guy.
I am
that's the
suspect
guy
that
who-
you know too much about these guys.
That's the guy-
odd.
Guy who replaced Steve Clark, the guy who died of alcohol poisoning. So that's a newer picture of them.
No, that's
Because
the original
guitar player is not.
That's the original. No, that's the original guitar player. His name is
Bullshit.
Phil Collin.
yeah.
Phil Kenneth
no,
Collin.
the
And-
guy
and-
next
right.
to him. Phil
I just
Phil
saw
Collin
him on
is the
Pawn Stars. That's him.
Phil Collin is the guy in the second one over.
Yeah,
That's
with no
Phil
shirt.
Collin.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Oh,
He's
Well,
never
talking-
ever worn a shirt.
Yeah. Back in the day, he
Uh,
got them
I was
muscles by
talking
throwing
about
up
the-
whiskey. Probably
Mhm.
went right into cocaine muscles, and then late in
Cocaine
life he had to get
muscles?
sober. Well, I mean, if you do a lot of coke, you stay thin. So he probably just rode alcoholism and drug abuse into being in great shape as an older guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's-
switch your
yeah,
addictions
he
to
is ripped. I
bicycles
did-
for a few years. Look at Stanhope, that big bloated drunk. He all of a sudden he's looking like a fucking Dapper Dan. He's got a little tan. He's got that mohawk, a little muscle tone. He got on a bike. It changed his life. It
And
turned
a
him
positive
around.
attitude.
For him.
Well, that was
it.
the
Very
weed.
positive attitude.
You don't get a positive attitude on a
edibles.
bike. You just
That's
get crotch
edibles.
crash.
Yeah.
Well, I
what
mean,
a
that's
week.
the transformation.
Yeah.
It's happening before our eyes, gentlemen. We've seen this guy day in and day out for 20 some years, and all of a sudden, you
Yeah,
walk
like,
into a room.
I
And
know, I talked
he's
to him one
brightening
time
it
and
up like a bouquet of daisies.
yeah,
I'm a
like one
fan.
time I
I
talked to
like
him
it.
on the phone, and for years we both understood neither of us like talking to each other on the phone, or really probably in other ways. But we get on the phone one time, and then it's like, it's like my mom or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, I'll catch you, we'll get at you later then, or whatever. I was trying to find.
Yeah.
It's like Doug's high and talking to me. It creeped me out. It's like, I felt uncomfortable with that level of friendship. Doesn't one of us have something to do?
Yeah.
Even our text messages between Doug and I are like 3 words apiece. Like
Yeah.
there's just a minimal amount of communication.
Yeah, now I'm getting texts like peace, bro. No, I'm
Oh
not getting
man.
those. Just thinking about you.
Shit.
Mm.
All right. Well, for the record, Shaylee, I have to say I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was talking. When you go back to that picture of Def Leppard, I was talking about the guy on the end who
Oh,
was
sorry.
not the.
No, yeah, you're right. But
That
yeah,
guy's Vivian. I think that's Vivian Campbell. I think he was
He's
in
a newer
Rainbow
guy.
for a while. I think he's like one of those English goes in whatever band needs a
Wait.
guitar player for a while
Yeah.
guys.
yeah,
And the
Wait,
original guy,
oh.
Steve Clark, the guy on the far.
I thought
This
you meant
guy
on the
you're
other
talking
end. I was
about.
like, it's a different one-armed guy. I get you now.
Imagine this. We had so much success with the one-armed drummer. We're gonna get a one-armed guitar player.
And,
I,
and when did Def Leppard get the gal from Heart in the band?
Totally.
The guitarist from Heart.
I was in a pretty
Nancy Wilson.
successful at I forget what we called these. We had these unauthorized parties that the guy who sold fake speed put together, and the police didn't like it. It was like that movie I was so hyped about a while back, where all the kids locked the parents in the school or whatever. But I was
Andy,
in.
You've got so much going on in that.
That
one
was the best
run-on
description.
I'm
That was the
high,
best
shit, but I-
description of anything
I would-
I've ever heard in my whole life. I'm
I would
listening
have to go back
this
to the
podcast
transcript.
'cause I want to hear that.
I have to hear it
would
again
like to
to really
dissect
fully
this
enjoy it.
apart.
I
Oh
forget
my
what we
God.
called these
Mark,
parties.
it's
Were great,
time.
though,
28
and
minutes. 28
Well,
minute mark.
the best part of the parties were there were cops that they insisted on having cops. It's a community building. We rented this small gym for these parties. We want to dance, but we don't want a fucking supervisor or whatever. We don't want the
Andy,
chaperone.
when was this? Was this high
This
school?
is like my
college?
sophomore year and junior year.
So like
had
1985,
yeah,
86.
yeah.
It sounded like it was a man show story.
Yeah, so like we had like this guy who's like basically put these parties on to sell fake drugs, and we acted like they were real drugs because we were all placeboed, but we'd go in. It was like a community building, so there was like gym and shit. But this room, you could crawl. There was a closet off of where the party was, and you could crawl over a wall. There was like a little gap, and you could fall down into a closet. So that's where we stashed all our booze and drugs, and the cops were like fucking patrolling that party and everything, and hanging, coming in the room, and then fucking here we'd come out from under the back room. We could get out once we were in, and come
Through
out.
a door.
Yeah, and we were like, like Disney characters. Like, where did they come from? These guys.
And they come back wasted.
And we had momentum because we were on caffeine.
Hey, that guy
pills.
looks goofy.
Oh man.
Yeah,
no.
the last.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Too easy.
the last party we had there, he was spinning records, and spinning bullshit about them pills too. David Dalton, fuck you, David. Those weren't real pills.
Dalton.
I need my cross tops, bro. And you could you
Oh,
say
yeah,
it?
remember those?
Wow.
He
Remember
had
those?
he had a lisp and he
Jesus
would fucking get
Christ.
high as shit, or just overly. I
Those
bet he
were
had the real ones.
Those were the ones where you'd take them and you could run your hand through your hair like that, and then you could just
Yeah.
feel your fucking wherever your fingers touched, and you'd be
yeah.
like,
That was the biggest thing to do when you were on those, is to fucking feel your hair.
Yeah, that's what cost me and I
Yeah.
still don't know because I've been told those were caffeine pills, but I thought
Really,
I was
that's all they
cross
were.
top,
Yeah.
in
Probably,
football
yeah.
against South Umpqua, and I was starting. I was fucking the DB, and I had an area to cover, guy to keep an eye on, and I
Yeah.
wanted to run my hand through my hair with a
And you
helmet.
broke
Get the
your
helmet
fingers
on.
on your helmet.
But like
Andrus, you're out.
yeah, well, kind of, yeah. Spike Perry wasn't even a coach, that guy. Anyway, I got,
Crawl.
I remember the
Wait,
play.
I love that that Shaylee said, Andrus, you're out. And then Andy's response was, Spike Perry wasn't even a coach.
Yeah, no, I
Like,
mean, I
that's
got
another
like,
nice leap. Like,
you know
I
how
can't
like
wait to
when a
hear this
coach
one.
comes over to this, he when you come over the sideline and then if you've done something wrong or whatever, they want to talk to you urgently. And so it
Uh-huh.
can't wait. And so
Yeah.
you can't
So you
bullet
had some
point it and let's talk about
coach
it.
wannabe asshole
Yeah,
who like wanted
yeah.
to talk to you about some mistakes you made on the field. Fuck him. You're right. Fuck Spike Perry.
Spike Perry hit a funny thing about Spike Perry is he was married. He was married to. Well, he was my best friend Mitch's brother-in-law. He married his sister. Spike Perry went missing. Well, on his wedding day, I think Spike Perry went missing. Right, like he
We're
was
back.
like he
We're
was
back.
driving. Perry he was like driving a truck. He was like a power guy, and he disappeared. Right, like he disappeared.
Uh-huh.
Okay, what it was. Spike was married. He was supposed to be a best man in my brother John's wedding, and he went missing.
Listen,
Went
before
missing.
the wedding.
Well, it didn't have much to do with my brother's wedding, but Spike went missing, and he was like he'd go read meters, and the big speculation was he left his vehicle with the wipers running, and they said he must have saw something he shouldn't have, and what he did see was a glimpse into his future, and he put a thumb out and caught a ride with a trucker and fucking beat it, fucking took off, and my old man. He goes, yeah, he probably fucking, my old man called it. He goes, he probably just took off. And it's like, wow. And it was like, I remember him saying that going, it's all over the news. What a dick. My dad, like just surmising it as he just took off. And that's what he did. His wife got a fucking bleeding ulcer. And then Spike comes back from hiatus. Anyway,
how long was he gone? Where was he?
About a couple
took off
weeks.
for a while?
Yeah, he just got loaded up with a trucker, probably sucked him off. I think Spike was into some Christian shit.
You're adding some of this in.
Some airplane, some like airport bathroom kind of fucking vibes.
Mitch, who was the greatest dude ever, he's no longer here, but he lived with Spike and his sister for a while, and he hated Spike. And so none of this had happened when I let that receiver run. He was like a free range receiver. Like I had a zone and that guy was in the zone and he caught a beautiful pass. Like, sometimes you just got to sit back and watch athleticism for what it is.
So your take on, I was the deep player on defense and some guy came running through my zone and caught a beautiful pass.
That's what we were talking about.
And sometimes you just have to sit back and admire a good play.
That's what I
That's what you told that's what you told Spike Perry when you got back to the sidelines. Hey,
that's how I still am that way today. Like I'll go to a college football game. I don't want to slap high fives. And if the other team makes a beautiful play, I'm like, yeah, did you see that? But people are like, oh shit, that sucked. No, it was it was still fucking beautiful. And when I had the responsibility to guard that guy who went on to play college ball, he was a good receiver. And nobody he kept doing that to other people that thought they were on drugs. I just was the first one. And Spike Perry got in my face, and what he should have done is told me to fucking, hey man, you let that guy go. Are you on drugs? Take it easy, or take some Gator or something, But he ruined his best DB's confidence by screaming in my face, grabbing my helmet, like fucking one of those coaches, and he wasn't even a paid coach.
That's exactly right.
Fuck you, Spike Perry, if you're listening, or anyone knows where Spike is, you fucking gave your wife a bleeding ulcer and then you come back. Fuck you. That's the gift you fucking part on. Like, you don't come back and, get reminded of that every couple of weeks. Remember when you left for 2 weeks and everybody thought you were dead? And I got a bleeding ulcer because I cared.
I have a comment. I'm just gonna there's so many things, and I will have to go back to the tape and
Put
listen
Neil
to this when it
Daniels
comes
in
out.
after me, and he got lit the fuck up.
Neil Daniels was not an improvement over Andy Andrus
Wait,
He
at,
there-
is so
no,
free
Neil-
bitter over
safety.
one play.
The Coquille
One fucking play.
Red Devils of
I was athletic
1984.
and undisciplined, and he wasn't athletic but disciplined.
Yeah,
So
he
fuck,
knew where he was supposed to be.
A single
He just
threat.
still
couldn't
wasn't
get
good
there.
enough to get there.
Yeah.
Andy was good enough to get there, but was watching admiring the
And then-
athleticism of the opposing player.
That coupled with my dog's death on the eve of that game against South Umpqua, and we were overmatched. That was like one of those preseason games that we shouldn't have taken. It's like
Right.
fuck.
No,
those
Hold on a
kids.
second. They don't ask you if you want to play.
No, that's
They
no,
have a
Shaylee.
schedule.
They
No,
were
well,
a
that's
better
how.
team.
No,
Were
that's how
better.
it works. So, Shaylee, like in college, like the big schools play the little schools, and the little schools
Yeah.
know they're going to get their asses kicked, but they do it because if the Michigan Wolverines come to their school, they make a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
My town-
Andy's on Appalachian State right now,
Yeah.
and the Michigan
that's-
Wolverines are coming
Yeah,
to town.
exactly. And we, like our
But
town,
now Andy's dog has just died, and he has to
Yeah.
still play the game,
and
and he's
and
high
South-
on White Cross amphetamine pills, and he's trying to rub his head and feel the sensation. And while he's doing that,
Just
the other
still what-
team's star
just
player
wanted-
is running
I
for
was-
a touchdown.
just
right
wanted to
past
feel
him.
something after
you're
Bob
caught
died.
up.
Bob died, and we took him over. Well, that was a fucked up deal. My dad is like, Bob's missing, and I go, where do you think he is? And he goes, he probably went somewhere to die. It's like my dad was pretty good about those things, and that's where Bob was. He's like, wow, dude, you gave up. And then we dragged him out and took him over to get gassed or whatever. And it was
Andy,
a
was
bummer.
that the
Went
game
into
where
that-
you guys all wore like an armband
Yeah.
or something
Yeah,
to commemorate
Tim
Bob?
Counts. I was like, I put black tape on
Yeah.
my helmet, my personal thing, and then Tim Counts distributed the tape. I think he liked Bob, and but a lot of people didn't even care about Bob, and they just
Good
did it
pull,
because.
Chad.
And
Yeah.
then it was 52-0. Like we got obliterated. Like I was responsible for 7-0.
For Bob.
That
You
definitely
did it for
7.
Bob, though.
Yeah, that score was in dog years.
Yeah. It was like 21 points right off the bat. I gave up. But I was, maybe I was thinking about Bob or whatever. But that's Spike Perry got in my face and then broke. I got benched. Like he dragged me over. And coach playing with his big
by the
swinging
face
dick
mask.
didn't want to stand up
But
for me. Spike was
That's
like,
bullshit.
yeah,
That's
he was a fucking volunteer assistant.
Yeah.
And
Well, first of all, that's that whole era of it's amazing to me, especially now with all the fucking save the children shit. But it's amazing to me that we all grew up in a time when it was actually perceived as something you could do, where you could grab the face mask of a child and pull them into your face so you could spit on them while you were red-faced screaming at them because they didn't run in a particular direction you wanted them to run. And to think about that is mind-boggling. And then on top of that, to think that now thinking about it, there's no worse way to get your message across to a teenager than to attack them like that.
Right.
That's not going to get your message across to them.
Yeah,
and
I know when
it was all done in this. Hey, we're making them into men. This is the only way you can become a man. That's right.
There are wrestling coaches all over the country who are just quitting because they can't fucking be themselves anymore.
Good. Good. That's a good thing.
I think I think pretty much across the board, there was coaches who always did that, but Spike Perry twisted and fucking assaulted.
Not even a coach.
No, he was a volunteer. He had a windbreaker or whatever.
He was a runaway husband.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But
yeah.
every one of the. This is how crazy the
Could've
high school football thing is, that every team had guys like Spike Perry, guys who weren't actually affiliated with the team or the school in any way, but they'd been hanging around on the sideline for so long that now they were perceived as some sort of authority on football, and they could grab a kid by the face, man. Like, what the fuck is going on?
It's an aggressive version of Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused. Like he's 1 foot in high school, You know, 1 foot
Yeah.
out of high
No,
school, but he's
Yeah,
on the
but-
sideline.
hold on a
With
second.
all due respect,
He was
he
way
took
older.
Spike, well,
He was-
aside from that, Spike Perry took the exact opposite view of life of Matthew McConaughey's Wooderson in Dazed and Confused, because Wooderson was just trying to keep living, man.
Yeah. And a weird thing about, because like my friend Mitch, he died tragically young, and he didn't, fell out of touch with the family and all. But one time I was on a flight from somewhere, and I was out, like I Xanax and was just completely out, drooling in the back of a plane. And Madeline, who's was Spike Perry's wife at the time, and Mitch's sister, woke me up on the plane, and she goes, "I think I know you. Are you Andy Indris?" And then I was like, "What?" And shit. And then that was the last I saw of that bunch. But that was a surprise.
Yeah.
To be woken up by it's like you think that's what it's like when you're dead. I'm being woken up by somebody who's like a real side character in my life. But it's like, come with me. You've landed. You've landed.
If it would have been Mitch instead of
Yeah.
Mitch's sister,
Oh my
that's
God.
what would have happened.
Yeah.
He's like, I've been waiting for you.
That would be all right.
I know your Mitch story, and I don't want to pressure you
I
into
do
telling
too.
it at any
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
But I mean, that's a big part of you
Yeah, that was,
becoming. I will just say, just to fucking touch on it, I feel like you've taken the best you can from that story, and I think it's affected you in ways that you've done the best with that anyone
Yeah.
could. Like you lived it out, going forward and talking about it, all this shit.
Yeah, I got the perspective on it, like
I
years
think
of
so.
twisting it, and then but it was like one of those like fucking breaking moments, like I was already a cracked egg, and that was like I was 18, my friend drowned, and I was as responsible as you could be in the not like I didn't put him in the water, I just didn't get him out of it.
Right.
He wanted to drown that night, and so it was but that was the agony of life. It was like, and then I twisted everything, like it was like fucking just everything was
That's
twisted.
a hard thing to recover from, man. Again, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
That's
pull
why
you down.
no I mean it's
like I feel like I did now.
I feel like
the
it's
story, like the detail that Andy has on the story isn't what he just told. It's a very interesting. It's an insight. Andy, I knew you for 15 years. More it was when we were in Peoria and we bought that bogus blow.
Yeah.
That night we went out.
Doesn't sound like the blow was that bad anymore.
This was before. This
wasn't all drywall.
No, this was before that. Andy and I went out to go
drinking. We hit a stud in that drywall.
We went out drinking beforehand, and then Andy starts laying on the story, and I'm like, fucking, whoa. But it was like you were telling me a story, and it's like what Erickson said. It's like you have a lot that you've processed since that I can tell from the story. You're telling it with care when we were at work, fucking some Hooters or whatever.
I should write it out, because it's like over the years I really, it's a interesting story. There was 3 of us in the river, and it ruined the 2 that survived for years, and then one of the survivors drank himself to death and never got over it. And that was a guy I put a lot of shit on, that I felt eventually really understood that. It's like, fuck, man, I should have got that perspective sooner. I could have saved him. And then it was like, man, both of now I'm the only survivor of that. I'm Dana Plato, or no, I'm Todd Bridges on the thing. And
don't do that to yourself, Andy. Don't torture yourself by calling yourself the Todd Bridges of Coquille.
What you talking about?
You know that like the situation isn't a good situation.
Okay.
In any way, if you're the number one guy out of it, and you're like, yeah, I'm like the Todd Bridges of that.
Todd Nash.
Oh God, that whole thing had to not be good.
Yeah, how about I call it Todd Nash Bridges? Like, I don't know. It's the same thing. But yeah, it's it's one of them things where you go, it's like
It
I
sucks,
had
dude.
that. That's why I know, like,
Your best friend in
yeah,
high school died in front of you.
yeah,
That's a hard
yeah,
fucking thing to ever recover. You don't recover from it.
right.
You
He
just
was
move
fucking,
on with a hole in your fucking self.
yeah,
And that's what you do. You move on. But that's my point to you is that I feel like when I met you, this was years had it happened to you years before that. So like you had done a lot of therapy yourself through probably like drug addiction and
Drinking,
yeah.
and
Oh,
yeah, I mean
yeah.
listen,
Comedy.
we
smoking
all
weed.
listen, we go down our own
I blacked
paths.
out through an associate of art degree.
Who wouldn't?
I was
But
a
who
walking
listen,
fucking blackout
who
drunk, and I
You
got a
wouldn't have got the
fucking
degree unless you
would?
did.
You got
yeah.
molested when you were a fucking teenager, and then your best friend died in front of you when you were graduating from high school. Like, who wouldn't just go into a years long,
Yeah. Yeah.
session of just abusing yourself and numbing yourself to reality? Because reality, every time you had to deal with reality, it fucking bit you in the ass hard. So why wouldn't you do that? So
Yeah, and then it's like,
you,
that's also why I hate Coquille. It's like in the aftermath of that shit, it just felt like I was in the middle of a fucking, it's like, what were these fucking kids doing and all this shit, and it was like, it's like that guy's story where his girlfriend ended up dead,
Yeah, Coquille
and
doesn't have a good track record
people
of
are going to,
being
yeah,
sympathetic to
no,
teenagers who
yeah,
are
and
in a
to
situation.
those people who are still
they like
surviving
Spike
that
Perry's.
era, they thought, they formed their opinion about it, and whatever, I'm like that guy. I'm lit, I when I'd
Yeah.
go through Coquille and I'd run into people or whatever, I knew that they, it was like that was what the fuck, it was one of the, it was this careless drowning where it was actually a suicide attempt, and that's where I've gotten better. Is I just thought, man, he's just fucking. Mitch went for a swim, and he said he was gonna do it, but he's like jumped in there, and it's like in my head, it was like we were just horseplay, because that's how it came back to me. But the real thing is I made a gallant effort to save a friend, but for years I just fucking,
Yeah.
that anything I did
Can't do
wasn't,
it.
I wouldn't give myself a pat on the back because I failed at it, and
Oh,
that's like,
good enough.
that's why I leaned into
And
failure. It's like that
but
sometimes that's what
and
happens.
then
That's
right,
why HBO didn't
but
air your
Yeah,
special.
yeah, yeah. That's why you go like, life ain't gonna work out. It didn't work out that night. Here was my
right.
best, this fucking beautiful, like one. Sometimes I'll read, not much, but he wrote me a few letters. He was in the National Guard, and we were gonna go in together. But one night he got drunk and got a Dewey, and then I went running, hiding from the police, and for whatever reason, I didn't go in to the guard with him, and I probably should have. But when he wrote me these letters, and he talked about, like, they call him Bill Murray because he was a white guy and he had a lot of black friends, but they called him Bill Murray. I guess sort of resembled him a bit. But and then he would send me these letters like, all my friends here, none of them eat pussy, and he just thought that was, like a fucking amazing thing, and like, they'd sit around and talk about shit like that, and it was like it would have been a different adventure had we gone in together, but it's like, he had the same kind of head I did. He had his brother died in a drunk driver hit his brother and killed him at one of our parks in Coquille or outside of it. And when I met Mitch, I was a fucking spin out like a sixth grade. I was in sixth grade on crutches because of the Star Trek wrestling. Uh, and uh and I was on crutches, so I was kind of like the ultimate fucking awkward kid
Yeah.
start sixth grade. And Mitch and me just hit it off. But he was his brother died months before that, so he was a broken character, and I was a broken character on crutches, and we were fucking. That was it.
Yeah.
It's like. And that's why I remember when I met Stanhope, and it was a thing for me because I didn't feel like I should have anybody like that as a friend who I was close to because it didn't end well. So it's like it
Right.
took years for me to actually warm up to actually accepting friendship because it was like not
Yeah.
because I was trying to keep people at a distance. I just didn't want them in there because that's what happens sometimes.
Gunshot, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
But
Dude.
I've certainly learned a lot about that evening and all that shit. And it's like, it's like you deal with that shit, and it kind of ruined me, or sent me in a dangerous direction and all that shit. And I'm sure if like me and him would like go through act out suicides together. So that was kind of a fucking thing.
Whoa.
Like we would drive. He would like
Let's
one of us.
unpack that a little bit.
Well, he would talk about killing us while he was driving, and I would take off my seatbelt if
So
I
it
had it.
became like this running gag.
Sort of,
So
yeah.
like when he was doing it at the river when you're swimming,
wasn't
you know, like you never know if he's completely serious about it or if he's fucking doing another thing. But this time, oh my God, he's fucking actually trying to drown himself in this river. And by the time you realize that he's actually trying to do it, there's really not much you can do to stop him from doing it, and it's too late. And you're out there in the river with him while it's happening. So it's like the most traumatic.
Yeah, and while hearing like
thing
so some of this, you know, Paul Provenza to do this movie that we're working on years in the making, but it's we interviewed Mitch's sister, and that was the first time I had heard. I didn't listen to any of the interviews, but I listened to that one, and she talked about how her brother was a good swimmer, and for whatever reason, that was never something we did together. And I wasn't much of a swimmer. I swim with my head up. Don't want to get my hair wet.
Dog paddle.
Yeah, I don't really. But when he jumped in, I jumped in,
wet.
and I caught up to him. But
because he had the perm.
Yeah. I don't know if I had it. I might have.
He's
you
like,
know,
my head itches. My head itches.
Like a
he's
poodle.
He's like putting it in like the fucking plastic
shower cap.
Shower cap before
I can't go swimming. I don't have a shower cap.
It was basically a labradoodle.
Where's my nose plug?
But yeah, so anyways, yeah, someday we'll uncrack that because it's a, you know, I mean, it did define me. It was like, man, because I was
How
I
could
was
it
a bit of
not?
a spin out, and you know, and that's why when he said what he said about jumping in, I was like, not with my shirt on.
Yeah.
I was like, we've done this before. He said he was going to hit the
It's
pole.
like-
and like, well, I think you better speed up, bro, or shit like that. You know, we weren't, you know, we were, I think, you know, if we were hateful, we would have been school shooters because we both had a dire sense of, you know, something ain't right with us and we need to get out of here. And he fucking, you know, I admired that about him as he followed through with it, you know. He didn't, well, I mean, not admire him.
Listen, there's like, this is a weird,
Yeah.
that, Chad, I didn't mean to jump on you right there, but you're right. Like that is, Andy, that's very perceptive. It's like there's that whatever the school shooting thing is and the teenagers who commit suicide thing is, obviously they're offshoots of the same sort of seed in your head, you know?
Some kind of
so
trigger,
yeah, I mean, there's something in there that
where's the fucking
making you-
exit? But
right. That's
you
what
I
just
can't
want out.
understand.
You definitely want out.
And all the times I wanted out, I never thought, who can I squeeze in here with me? The last thing you want to do is go to an afterlife and have like 8 or 10 people standing around that you put there. Damn it. Yo,
A bunch of lamos you hated in high school. And now you gotta spend
well, maybe you
purgatory with-
shouldn't have been picking up tomatoes at that Saturday market. Sorry, I drove through your family, yo.
Sorry, I drove through your family.
But yeah, that's the, you know, that's where, you know, with the world all fucking, you know, like people want to fucking hurt other people. And I always just wanted to direct it at my own inadequacies or whatever, or that. But I just, it's like, man, there's never been a person I looked at and said, well, I mean, politically right now there's a few, but I don't know them personally, but there's you know, I've never thought I should just smash that fucking person's head in because they suck or whatever.
Here's the thing, though. We talked about this last week about how like there are people who definitely deserve to take a fucking bullet, you know. But the thing is that it just would never have the effect you wanted to have. They would be martyred. They would seem like it was they would be portrayed as the victim, and you would be portrayed as as not the superhero.
Yeah.
And the wrong message would be sent, and you would set back your cause. So like
back in the day. Back
I
then, now
I think it's worse. I think it's worse than that, Erickson. I think we've somehow found the exact middle split of the United States to divide everybody up. So there's absolutely no consequence to either thing anymore.
Yeah,
One's
that's true.
it's not gonna matter to one. You just be a martyr to the
And-
other side.
Right,
You'd be
and
a
the
fucking
people,
not a martyr.
right.
That guy would be a martyr. You'd be a martyr.
The people on your
We're
side
split.
will agree, will go with you no matter what you did.
Yeah.
They'll find
Yeah.
a reason why it was fine, and the
Yeah.
other side will
Twist
fucking
it all, yeah.
hate-
I
right.
I was thinking about what you guys said when I said this. Politicians have always been crooked. It's probably is nothing more. And you guys like, nah, this is different. I think you're right. I was wrong. It's way different, and that's what it is. We found the exact split. Before it was always people could be swayed by logic or different arguments and stuff, and now we found the exact split between ignorance and fucking reason, and it's done.
I guess I ultimately I don't even know if it does make a difference. Maybe I'm wrong and it absolutely doesn't make a difference what happens, and we'll all just live our lives anyway. And who cares if America is a good country or a bad country? We'll make our own lives through it regardless.
Yep.
But like there is truly for me the reason I can't have Trump win is I can't take that many more episodes of the show before the bad guy gets his comeuppance. I can't do it. Like I'll have to completely check out of this. I won't be able to binge watch this show anymore. I will be off of that show, the show. I can't. Because this fucking guy deserves to have the fucking flip on him.
But that's his goal.
I know.
Right? He wants you to quit watching. He's got his audience.
Yeah. What if he died? Like he had a fucking aneurysm or somebody put a bullet in his head while he's doing his acceptance speech.
But see, that's
like, man, like I gave up on the show and then it ends great.
I know, but see, Andy, it's because I've had that discussion with our buddy Marty Shalders about it. Because Marty's like, I wish someone would just put a fucking, someone would do the honorable thing. And I'm like, listen, no, that's exactly what we don't want. Because then they would put him on Mount Rushmore. They fucking would. But I would love to see an aneurysm where like he's giving his speech and then like a little trickle of blood comes out and then a little trickle of blood comes this way and then he doesn't die. He just becomes like a slobbering, mouth open person who lives in a home for like 20 years. Like that's what I want. I want there to be
Kennedy
want him to have a fucking bell. Like the uncle in fucking Breaking Bad, like I want that to be the only way he could
watch Mike Pence's Imperial, take over for the next 25 years.
He's the Gus Fring.
Yeah. Well, Biden's gonna be just as bad. I'll take a creepy head sniffing. Yeah, like I know what I used to be a head sniffer a little bit. I dabbled. Leaning in and sniffing.
Head smell nice.
Yeah, like you smell a woman's hair. You go, oh, that's nice. Not like
different.
But Joe Biden started.
Yeah, he's doing it with young. He likes the younger.
I never
did
the
new car smell.
Well, I gave it up after sniffing Kathy Griffin's hair. I was done. It's like I'm done.
Yeah, I can see how that could queer you off.
I didn't even know what I was doing. I was like, the addiction had taken a turn, and then it was like, here's a head, and I smell, the mixture of chemicals on that head was just like was like smelling burnt plastic, and that cured me. Like that's what Joe Biden needs. Some kid needs to fucking have Kathy Griffin fix up that hair concoction and put it on a kid's head, and then Joe leans in, smells it, and goes, it's like Epicac syrup. You're like, I can't take that. I won't drink that.
And Joe takes the night off from the White House to go to a Bryan Adams concert.
He would. I bet Joe Biden likes Bryan Adams. I bet he's got at least some of it on his fucking walking music. Trump, he can only listen to people who like him, so that's a pretty limited soundtrack.
Yeah,
like
it's getting smaller and smaller. Everybody
and Ted.
Yeah, he doesn't like Kanye's music for sure. Doesn't even understand it. So,
well,
I don't. Funny to think.
Ted Nugent put out good stuff like lately?
No.
Yeah.
No, Ted Nugent hasn't done anything new in 40 years.
Suspiciously absent.
Kid Rock. Trump could
listen to Kid Rock. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny to think that. Oh Jesus!
I smell their hair at Largo.
Too. That's what's horrible about it. That's a good one. Don't put up one of the scary ones.
If I had a choice between having sex with Carrot Top and Kathy Griffin, I would take Carrot Top. I would allow my first homosexual experience to be Carrot Top, and I would let him top me.
I
Oh,
think I have to
Yeah,
agree
That's
with you
right,
on
Diane. By
that.
what I'm seeing there,
Yeah.
that looks like a skeleton.
there's a female comic who didn't make it, but I kind of think of her as a Kathy Griffin. But Jan Barrett is her name, and the
Yeah,
line I heard,
here.
like A. Whitney Brown, remember that name?
Hey,
A.
Whitney,
Whitney,
I
A.
remember him.
Whitney
Yeah.
Brown had sex with her, and then he had this line where he said, "I fucked her in the ass for for sanitary reasons."
Yeah.
That was a joke, or I don't know that it was a funny joke, and it may not even been true. But Jan Barrett was fucking, she was kind of gross, like a fucking like a female road hack. And one time, like she invited me to her room, and I was in her room, and I was a young comic and stuff, and it's like she could, if I
Could have
boned Jan,
happened.
yeah, and I couldn't get out of there quick enough. I was like, she repulsed me. And then when I got the math was fuzzy. I was a shoe-in finalist in the Seattle competition when Hedberg was there and everything. And then I got mathematically
The year he
eliminated.
won.
It was
Didn't
very
he win?
suspicious. I ended up sixth place and the top five finalists, and Jan Barrett jumped ahead of me. Well, she was probably fucking John Fox or something like that. But so I got
John
eliminated.
Fox was one of the judges.
He
He was
ran
in
it.
He's
the
he's
competition, not the
completely
comic, not the comic.
unreliable and
No, not the
untrustworthy.
comic. There's another John Fox who's
Oh,
equally gross, but in a booking side. And
oh, yeah, I
and
don't know him.
yeah, but I got eliminated in the competition, which seemed mathematically impossible going into that last night. And that was a night in this. There was it was in an Indian casino, and all these fun-loving fucking industry pantsuits couldn't get enough of me. They were like they surrounded me, and I'm a fucking white trash guy who just dropped a couple $1,000 in an Indian casino. So the last thing I want to do is hear industry chatter. And they invited me to go hang out with them in L.A. and everything was cool and everything. And oh, don't worry about this competition. You are funny. We can't wait to see you in L.A. And and then
What'd you do? Did you go to LA after that?
yeah, well, Terry, that particular night, Terry Taylor, who Greg knows, Terry Taylor
Yeah.
waved me
He
over,
ran
and
giggles.
I hated Terry Taylor. I didn't
Yeah,
fucking
no
wanna,
one likes
and
Terry
he
Taylor.
waved me over like I'm talking to NBC, 12, a bunch of pantsuits, Grace, we had a lot of them. Like 4 or 5 people hanging around, 20th century, whatever, a bunch of people slumming it, and I was the most popular fucking fish on the grill that night.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
were fucking all about me. And Terry Taylor waves me over and he goes, "I think you got cheated, man." and and then I turn to get away from him, and Jan Barrett is in my face, and then she starts talking. I don't know what she said, but a chunk of something came out of her mouth and went into the corner of my eye. So I'm fucking losing my shit, like I don't like talking to me. I'm mad. I can't believe this shit. I was gonna hang
Oh,
for another week.
That's the worst
oh,
possible
Yeah.
thing that could happen to you.
Yeah, Daryl Lennox, me, and Hedberg, we're
oh.
all fucking heading to
Wait,
the final for fucking
Daryl Lennox? That's
yeah,
probably that might have been what happened to Daryl Lennox.
well, Daryl Lennox was me and Mitch drove him a couple times, and I thought my backseat of my car was vandalized. I was like, "What the fuck?" But he just didn't
Why you
know there
keep
was
putting
stuff
your
on the
picture up,
floor.
Shaylee?
He was blind, and then he shredded some shit. I don't think it was intentional, but
Yeah.
anyway, that was like I
Daryl
remember
Lennox is blind for
Jan
everybody who
and
doesn't get the
a
joke.
chunk of
What
Well,
I'm talking
legally blind. He could see a little bit, and
about.
he's
Giant
fucking
Coke bottle style
hilarious,
glasses.
oh,
Very
hilarious
funny guy.
comedian.
and
Yeah.
then the other fucking spin around to get so I went from industry telling me how wonderful I was and relax and oh would I like to bring my daughter to Disneyland and shit like that, and then I spin into Terry Taylor, get that chunk of food in my eye, and then I see John Fox who's like a fucking like a fucking porn hanger on, not even a porn star.
Dude,
Like maybe
yeah.
the creepy boom mic guy who had a fucking nice living
That's
room.
good.
Holding
Actually,
it
that's
like
a good
this.
gig.
Got this.
That's a
Yeah.
He's
good
holding it
gig.
like this.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, John Fox is his porn fucking, and then he was like, yeah, well, it's not bad. Like he's real. He hated, he's like he hated me all the time. Like I fuck.
Dude, you know what you needed? Honestly, all the way back then, this would have fucking helped you a lot. You needed you needed a manager. You needed
Confidence.
someone. Yeah. No, you had no, you
Yeah.
didn't. Your art didn't need to be adjusted in any way. You were doing fine. You were doing it how you needed to do it having gone through all the shit you'd gone through in your life, this is the way you needed to talk into a microphone to say things. That didn't need to change. You just needed to have a fucking buffer between you and all the people you talk to after the show. And especially if there's industry there and there's other people, like you don't need Terry Taylor coming over to tell you that you got fucked out of the contest to screw up your head when you're already talking to the NBC people, because they don't give a fuck if you actually won or not. You're already talking to the NBC people. The whole point of the contest is to get to talk to the NBC people. So get the fuck away from, like, you needed a Hennigan. You needed a fucking guy who could fucking run fucking blocking for you and keep these fucking Jan Barretts from spitting chunks of food into your eyeball and Terry Taylor from getting your head all spun sideways.
Yeah, and then that chunk of food, you know, still there probably, you know. Who knows? I mean, Whitney Brown said he fucked her in the ass for sanitary reasons. And
that's why the meat bees are after you.
Yeah, they sense my weakness. They sense the Jan, Jan's probably still out there making people disgusted.
No, this is her right there.
Yeah.
Andy's face is the equivalent of a wet market.
That's basically what happened in that room in Ashland. You know, I was at a crossroads. I could have hugged Jan, embraced the dark side, and probably, fucked her in the ass, and then followed
coming out of fingertips.
I didn't want to follow Whitney Brown. That brown hole of comedy
I was going to, even though it's Patreon, and we can say whatever we want. I was going to, out of professional courtesy and kindness to Jan Barrett, I was going to bleep out her name from the podcast, but then Shelly put her picture up 5 times.
Yeah.
So at this point, it doesn't even matter if I bleep.
And it sounds like this dude said this on stage.
But I doubted that he named her. I don't think he probably said what her name was. He probably said he did a joke about fucking a girl in the ass.
Yeah. Well, and and he maybe he didn't. Maybe he was. Maybe Whitney Brown should be Me Too'd, and Jan didn't. Whatever. She was just like a fuck. I would have to revisit a lot of shit. As you get older and shit, you revisit it. Like, she was a disgusting hack. She was probably just kind of funny or something. And I was a young, impressionable.
Hey, Patreon, just keep this shit between us, all right? That's the thing for right now. Just don't,
be cool, bro. Be cool.
Be cool, man.
Yeah, last thing I need is Jan Barrett showing up at my door with more spittle. Like, and out with COVID.
Funny story.
Yeah. One of my favorite comics in the Seattle scene.
Bad. Like,
I love
Jan
this guy.
Barrett didn't do anything.
I know he's still around. And I fucking love this dude. He was. Well, there was Mitch Hedberg would call Cliff Barnes. Cliff Barnes was this dapper black dude. He'd come in, he was always dressed dapper, and Hedberg said, Cliff Barnes, he's dapper. I like Cliff Barnes, but my favorite comic in those days was Rod Long, a black comic. He was a fireball. He was like one of them, like, oh, this guy, of the 80s, like, oh, fuck, this is a comic. Rod Long, and he was fucking cool. He was headliner. People knew who he was and writing articles and shit. And I run into Rod Long one time in a store where I was just loitering around Seattle. I had a couple gigs, new as shit, and Rod Long, and we were both in the produce. And he goes, hey man, do you want to peel some chilies? I go, what? He goes, you want to peel some chilies? And I go, I'm not sure. We're in the produce department, so I don't know what Rod's saying. And he goes, folks, no. And they go, fuck yeah, man. Because I was just kind of fucking loitering around this fucking market. And Rod Long, who's fucking, he's one of, it's like when you get waved in by people who are established and you look up to. And I saw him do a lot of shows. And, maybe he I don't know. I don't know what his comedy was.
So he didn't just run into you in produce. He knew you were a comic.
Well, yeah, he
saw
was,
you at the store.
I think what it was he was the host of the Seattle competition that week, and I was in the Seattle competition, and I would just find places to loiter. That's what, like I'm reading that Sam Talent book, and my strategy, like Sam Talent's character, he waits till the last minute to get to a gig. What I would do is I would get there like ridiculously early and just loiter the fuck out of it. And that's what I was doing at that grocery store. I probably wasn't even going to buy groceries. I was probably there for the air conditioning or to meet people or whatever, because I didn't like hanging out with the energy of other comics until me and Hedberg were in the competition together. I didn't like being in somebody who talked about the competition, and me and Mitch, we talked about other shit. We just meet up and get drunk at the Cloud Room and then go do the contest. But we didn't jockey with numbers and shit. And I did that competition a bunch, like, more than I'm comfortable admitting, probably 5 years. It's
The
fucking
Seattle
stupid.
one?
Yeah. Because it
You
gave
should
you
have won it
a
every
lot
time.
of work. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but the year I was proud about the year me and Daryl Lennox were trading, top finishes for a bit. And then that was, I can't remember if that I know there was some crossover, but I don't remember if the year, because I think Lennox won it, so that might have been a different year than Hedberg. But I know Lennox was around at least. Anyway, fuck it, it's confusing. But the Cloud Room in Seattle was I forget, Camlin Hotel.
It's at top of the Camlin in the
Top
piano
of the
room.
Camlin,
The
and it
cloud
was
room.
a piano bar. It was always lightly attended, mostly guests of the Camlin, and it was just the coolest hang in Seattle. Me and Mitch would get together before all the nights of the competition, just me and him. And then, who's this guy? We brought along. I'll think of his name in a minute. Tony Diamond. Tony Diamond was like Hedberg. We had fun. We liked Tony Diamond, but it was like Hedberg's like, man, you got too big of a name. You got too big of a name. Like he's Tony Diamond.
He should have been he should have been on the road with Dion Cole.
Right. Yeah. He just had two. Like his name was as big as her.
Come on.
Well, I remember
I'm looking at Chad for approval, and Chad's like, no.
Maybe if there was a picture, Erickson. I think maybe
if
there was
a
picture, it might make sense.
I remember Tony Diamond told us this story, though. So we loved it. Tony, I love it when people tell stories and they ain't the hero of it. And Tony Diamond told a story of how he was shopping and he just went ahead I think it was a dine and dash at a restaurant. He dined and dashed. And then he runs into that waitress he's somewhere else and runs into her and she fucking nails him. Something like that. And we just fucking enjoy that, like Tony, Tony was the one guy in that competition week that we hung with. And one of the highlights of that week was the night I got, like, we brought wine to a theater and there was no booze at that gig. So we were like the only ones really getting properly ready for the competition. And I never been a good judge of wine on an empty stomach. So
you don't have to fucking soften that up for us. We get it.
And sometimes when you're doing something like that, like doing a job interview or something, and the first thing out of your mouth is slurred. You're like, and your brain's like, oh,
no
shit.
credibility.
Where do I see myself in 5 years?
Yeah, you're slurring, and you're like, no, that's not what we're trying to do here, man. And then I finally stopped slurring, and I did a joke, and it got a response. And then I started slurring again, and then I did that joke again, and it didn't get a response. Then I fucking this was a throwaway night. This was,
well, you threw it away. I don't know if everyone else.
Yeah,
did.
This eventually.
You wonder how you dropped from definite top 5 to 6th.
Yeah, well, this was this was that night where I took a mulligan, and there was something called the encore point where you get it, after your set, and you go, hey, one more time and then if they felt like you went above the applause meter, and you get 1 point. And I got eliminated by that competition by less than a percentage, but I got that night, I slurred, I repeated myself, and then I quit. Like people say, I just kept working. I quit and I laid down and I quit. It's like a 5-minute set. Okay, I got a couple of minutes to relax. And then I got up and I fucking got the encore point.
Yeah.
So, and that upset a couple of people. They were like fucking livid of me getting an encore point while passed out on my back.
Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. Listen. People respond to different things. That's that's a bold move to go for the point.
It was an audience that made the decision.
Right.
No judge made the decision. The audience made the decision.
Right.
I think what I did was got accepted by my peers. It was like in Tacoma or some shithole where everybody's a drunk, and they saw was exactly them on jury duty day or
I give up
their kid's birthday when they were supposed to come through. or
Yes.
whatever, you know.
He might not be funny, but he's one of us. God damn it. Let's give him a point.
Google gobble. Google gobble.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
nobody ever
Ziggy. Oi, oi, oi.
nobody ever talks about how great it is when you hit rock bottom to see a bunch of other motherfuckers down there who just get
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know the problem with rock bottom is you just need a place to set your head. So if you hit rock bottom, you just take off whatever sweatshirt you have, put that under your head, and it ain't all that much different than ground zero or stage two.
Fuck. I love you guys. Thank you very much. That was
To
fucking.
go. All right, it got
That
a little
was
dark.
amazing.
Got a little.
Yeah. Listen,
No,
man.
it was still entertaining. I mean, I loved it.
Oh,
I-
it'll
It was a
get
good
darker
time,
when
yeah.
you tell the actual story, long
Yeah.
form.
I feel like that was. I feel like that was good though. I think that people who like this and appreciate you, you know, this is just another part of that whole picture. Like like you start to see the entire,
Don't
tableau
you
of
feel
it.
sometimes
And
like
I think it's a
guys,
big part of it. So
don't you feel like sometimes like from a comedy standpoint, it's like sometimes when we're done, it's like that wasn't very good, and then it's like, but it's like we're episodic here,
without a
don't
doubt.
yeah.
Listen, and this is not, we're always adjusting to the new, I almost said the new normal, and I've already taken enough shit for being a fucking memer. I'm not going to say that, but
Don't go white face on us
listen, there's
again,
a
bro.
new,
Yeah.
there's a new, like we have to figure out a new way to do what we do. There's not going to be a lot of, for the next 12 months, even probably still from this point, there's not going to be a lot of live comedy shows. So, how you give yourself out there to the people is a new thing we're all discovering together. And I think that over this last year, as we've been doing this, I feel like you've been doing a great job of that. This is a whole nother part of that process. We've joked and talked about all of the shit with you getting molested, and we've circled back to it every time. It's enlightening and heartbreaking and funny. But this is another part of you that's just as important as that we're just cracking the egg on and getting into. And like I said before, when it happened, I wasn't trying to pull you down that road. Maybe I subconsciously was, because
I don't know,
I've heard your story about it.
It is
I know
ratings
it.
week. It is ratings
and
week.
it's-
So I
we're-
know
we're
you
on
get
more
that.
doing
subscribers,
sweep.
bro.
I think
my Venmo account didn't fill itself up with talk about bee stings. I put my big swollen hand up there like a panhandler. And
People thought it was a David Blaine fake hand.
I got Thomas always sends me money. Thomas is, he sent me 20, and then he sent me 20 later, and I was like, I wasn't annoyed with him. I was annoyed with Venmo for giving me redundant messages, and then he gave me $40, but in 220 increments because he listened to both. But this is different. This is a level of tragedy we've never tried to exploit. People died, man. Lives were changed.
That's why you're the fucking best. I love you, man. I love all you guys. This was great, as it is every single time.
I've had several comments, which I'm sure you guys have also seen a lot, where people say not one bad episode yet, which is shocking to everybody, really. I mean, because we don't go into this with any sort of preconceived notion.
No.
We don't talk to each other in between this.
We literally
It's
don't
just
speak until the Skype rings and we all answer it, and we're like, ugh.
Yeah.
And
Better
that's
that way.
the show. So
That's our plan
it's
for the
good.
Doug Stanton podcast too, and I live next door to Doug.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
never speaks. Mail. He
The only
texts me
thing-
when I have mail.
The only thing I filed away was victory over the postal. That just happened. And I was like, what? There's something in there. And then I opened it and I was like, what? And then I thought it was bad news because I thought I owed him $700 and I was going to disappear it, get rid of the box.
Yeah.
And he's just out there with a hatchet chopping down his new mailbox.
Yeah, like George Washington in the cherry tree.
Yeah. And Brendan Walsh doesn't like this kind of thing. But George Washington originally lied about chopping that cherry tree down for like 8 years. Then,
Of course he did.
I'm going to
they
be with
had
Brendan
video
Walsh
ev-
on this. Brendan Walsh is the go-to George Washington historian in America. And I don't know that what you're saying is true. I'd have to check with Brendan first
Well,
because Brendan is my George Washington guy. I respect you, Andy, but
I've
Brendan Walsh is
he
my
did
George
all that
Washington.
work.
to tell
He
people
did
this,
all
but
that work for his PhD. You cannot take
He's
it away
not
from him.
going to, right. If he agrees with you, that's fine. But I'm just saying that he's the guy that I go to.
I'm basically
He's a
like
scholar on the
basically
subject.
like
I mean,
historically,
right.
I'm like Abe Lincoln's best friend. Like I talked to Abe, and here's a cool fact about Abraham Lincoln: is his grandpa was named Abraham, and he was shot in the head by Indians in front of Abraham's father as a kid. So there you go. Take that, Johnny Appleseed of George Washington.
I think we could have at some point a Brendan Walsh as George Washington versus Andy Andrus as Abe Lincoln. Fucking roast battle, scholarly debate.
Oh,
Who knows more?
You've been an Abe
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
No,
It's-
I just did a bit as Abe Lincoln. I'm telling you, Andy
Yeah.
Andrus is
The
an Abe Lincoln
stovepipe hat
scholar.
and everything.
But
Yeah.
Andy Andrus is an Abe Lincoln scholar.
Yeah.
Brendan Walsh is a George Washington scholar. I'm not saying they do the characters. I'm saying they're the ones who know the information.
Yeah,
Like they could go back and forth.
Yeah, I
who
could-
knows more.
Historically, I could check with Josh Speed historically about his relationship with Abe, and that's where I draw most of my interest in Abe Lincoln is that he was, he was the first gay president, and Mary was a beard.
He was,
he had
right.
that. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
read some of them swooning letters
was
he
gay.
wrote back and forth to Joshua Speed, and Abe was a fucking good politician and a bottom.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
So what? Back in the day,
Listen,
he would've
it
kicked the
took
kid.
a bottom to get us through the Civil War. A top would have fucking blown the country up.
A top would have, yeah. Well, he did kind of, but
the country still blew up. The,
Well,
the South is
the guy who
rebounding, right?
succeeded Abe Lincoln.
I think
fucking
it was.
fucked
I think
everything
it
up.
might have. I think it might have even been Andy who first said this. But it seems like that America might really. Maybe we should have broken up during the Civil War. Like everything after the Civil War has just been like, like a couple that shouldn't have gotten back together.
Point of contention.
They got back together, but everybody knew like they're just gonna get divorced again. This is stupid. They don't fucking like each other. They don't actually like each other. They should break
They go
up.
to different churches every Sunday. Why? There's no way this is
I
gonna
swear
work.
I heard that idea from you, Andy.
Don't let the big fucking party reception fool you. Those two aren't gonna fucking make it work.
No.
Big
No.
tobacco and
Sure.
liberalism.
Sometimes they're fun to hang out with and they party a little bit and they're both crazy in their own right, but together they're fucking oil and water. It's not going to work.
Not gonna
Everyone
do
loves
it.
crazy at the party. No one
Everybody
likes
does.
crazy the next day, and then 10
Absolutely.
years later.
Yeah, it doesn't work long term.
Oh, what are you
All right.
saying? There's a time limit on this thing?
Yeah, I made a slide for us, guys.
Look at that. Look at that shirt. That's a good looking
Hey.
shirt.
It's
Issues
By the
with
way,
Andy merch.
got some
DougStanhope.com.
Big shirt news with your investment and startup money coming soon with those Nature Jack shirts, 2 different styles. And I'll have to talk to Greg about my strategies on this, but I don't want to do anyway. I
Hey.
got to do a GoFundMe. I don't
Now's
want
not
to do a
the time. Now's
GoFundMe.
not the time.
Yeah, anyway.
But
Yeah,
I
you
do
guys
want to
have a
do
good
koozies, guys. I want to do koozies, and I want to talk to you guys offline about
All
that.
right.
But
We got
we'll
koozies.
until
yeah.
until we get everything going, just go to DougStanhope.com/store,
Perfect.
and you can buy all the stuff there. And the lovely Tracy will get it out to you as soon as
That's
possible.
Stuff
lovely.
it in an
That's
envelope, risking her life, reaching between boxes filled with scorpions and T-shirts.
Pretty close.
I
Fucking-
can't think of a better
And
outro
hornets,
than that.
dead hornets.
Dead
Yeah.
hornets.
I love you
There ain't
guys.
no
Thanks for
better
being out there, Patreon subscribers. You're the best. I love all 3 of these guys. Thank you guys for doing this a couple of times a week. You're the best. And we'll see you next time. Later.
Later, guys.
I gotta drive this bus.